Hi everyone, this is Sanem from Istanbul, Turkey. I wanted to talk to you about few little things about guiding on food in Istanbul. First of all, we all have to know that guiding in Turkey without license is illegal. You always need to ask if your guide is licensed. So the other thing is the guiding in gastronomy sector requires an personal education about gastronomy. It's nothing about the food that we are recommending you or the places we are taking you to. The most important thing is your health. When we are designing the routes, we are considering about if you will be easily digesting food or if you are allergic to any of it. So the first thing when you will meet with your guide, inform your guide if you have any intolerances for food or some of the food that you don't really want to eat because, for example, as a Turkish person, that I hate to eat the tongue. Uh, so maybe you have some limits that you don't want to cross the line. So you need to inform your guide about these specific things before you start the tour. By this way, we can consider about the optional things. The other thing is maybe the travelers, we are having a problem about when we are calculating it, we're always considering about that how much we're spending for food. But during the tour, the thing that you are paying for is not only the food, but also the guidance or consultancy or the travel agency. So, of course, everybody has to run their own business. So that's why the thing that you are getting is not only the food, but also the local experience with a local person. So that's why always remember that you are not only paying for food or drinks. The other thing which makes me quite upset is actually the guidance about food is quite underestimated. So when we are taking you to the foodie spots, it's not only because of some of the travel agencies or some of the tour guides because it's trendy and everybody wants to take their guests for food, because most importantly, when the traveler is getting a experience a tour about food, of course, like 99% the tour will end up with happy people because you're eating, and if you don't trust yourself, of course you won't be able to take the food tours. That means you trust yourself. But on the other hand, you trust your guide, but most of the tour guides, they just do this just because it's trendy or the travel agency asked them. But are you sure that your guide is really very well educated about food or consider about your digestions or can recommend you the drinks, wine, or the optional food or restaurant recommendations? Guiding on food is nothing like guiding to the historical attractions. There is not an architecture which is already built, or there is no specific sculpture that we are giving information about it. It's about the connection between the taste and the person. So it's about the nutrition and the health. Except this, there is also the historical background or social and economical situation of the cultures. So when the tour guide is sure about these backgrounds or open for learning more, then we can consider that this tour guide is available to be a foodie guide or the guide in gastronomy sector. So if the tour guide or a travel agency is taking you to the foodie spots, and what does it mean with the foodie spots, and doesn't know about the chef restaurants, which ones are 4 or 5 of them in Turkey, I cannot say that this is a positive side of a foodie guide. So that's why it's very important for a tour guide to update her or himself when it comes to the foodie spots in Turkey. When it comes to the foodie spots, we don't consider about every single restaurant, or of course all of the restaurants, they put a lot of effort, and the investors or the staff who are working at the restaurants, They are working there day and night, and they are putting so much from themselves thanks to the hospitality and the culture of Turkey. But this is very important that if everything is in a balance, first of all, the service, food quality, and the prices. The prices recently, because of the inflation and because of the different ways of investment in Turkey, and because of that, the minimum salary of Turkey, nowadays there is no specific balance left, unfortunately. So that's why it's very difficult to consider if the restaurant is expensive or not, because there are different criteria here. First of all, if the restaurant is owned by the restaurant itself, the place is owned by the restaurant itself. The second thing is that if the staff is paid well or not, or if the staff is paid the actual amount that they deserve or not. That's another subject. If you will book the tour, we will talk about this stuff. So the other thing is that if they are taking the food to the restaurant earlier and stocking them in the restaurant, in the refrigerator, in the fridge, or if they are taking the food at every single day, so which will be also causing a difficulty for the restaurant to decide about the prices. Because of the inflation in Turkey, it's becoming very difficult to decide about the menu. So what they will add, or what's the fresh one, or what they will serve. Did you know that some of the shops, they don't really want the tour groups in their places, because the small stores, which ones are providing just one tiny little food and to multiple people quickly, especially in Saturdays or Fridays and Saturdays, these are the crazy crowded days on the streets. Some of the merchants, they really don't like to see the tour guide is bringing 10 people, not even 10 people, just 5 people in their stores, stuffing them inside to the store, inside to the little restaurant, tiny little restaurant, and they don't want to see these 5 people to order one food and share it for 6. They hate to see us that way. So that's why when we are trying to find the places, we are trying to not to irritate the seller. That's why it's also sometimes quite difficult to find the spots to be proper to not to disturb the local sellers though. Or did you check that how many people are working in the kitchen, not only in the service? Because there is also one side that we are always able to see, which is the service part and the management part, that they're always walking around and walking in between the tables. But there are some people who are in the kitchen, chefs and future chefs, the cooks, and all these people, even that the person who is cleaning the food, the dishwasher, all of these people, how many people there are? Or if there is any person at the research and development department, is there any research or development department in the restaurant? So when you consider all of these things, or if there is a specific investor, or how much they are purchasing for the materials, the tableware or the glasses or the fork, knife, and every single thing are another thing in our criteria that's considered as an expense. So which will be reflected to the menu, which will be reflected on the menu. Let's come back to the restaurant. When we are sitting to the chair and when we are looking at the table, if we see the material is in the highest quality, or even doesn't have to be in the high quality, but if you will see that there is an effort on this table, if it's a lifetime or not, are you sure that is it suitable for forever? Is it sustainable or not? When you consider all of these things, that will give you an idea about the restaurant, how they take their business seriously or not. It doesn't only mean for the regular restaurants, which ones are serving international food, but it's important for the upper casual restaurants, actually. But we are talking about the restaurants. But when we are talking about the street food, of course, we are not expecting such big things about the chairs or tables or something. We are going hardcore, bro. So that's why it's important to consider all of these details depending on the restaurant that we are going. Because if you are questioning about these details at the street food place, let's say the stuffed mussel place or the intestine sandwich place, they won't give you a perfect idea. If it's, of course, not a modern style one or something, but the street food, you don't need to consider about all of these things because nobody really cares because they are so hangover. I always thought that bathrooms are giving a perfect idea about the cleanness of the restaurant. There are some exceptions I have seen, but of course, yeah, that's very important. Cleaning of the bathroom is the must. It's actually a rumor or gossip that I heard that the Michelin star is not given to the restaurants which ones have the entrances of the bathroom and kitchen are next to each other because they cannot place it. It actually sounds quite dirty. Again, we don't really expect all of these tiny little details from tiny little foodie spots or nice, cute little restaurants. But we're always here, we are talking about the middle class or upper class restaurants, actually. So let's get back to the guidance part, which is quite important for me to work as a tour guide in gastronomy because this is a thing that I spent my years, so that's why I'm quite picky with the restaurants that I'm choosing or the little spots that I'm choosing in my tours. But also, I always wish my friends, my colleagues, to do the same thing and be more careful about choosing their places too. I have really nice friends who are really living these lives, and they are really caring about experiencing new places and trying new food as a personal interest, which is the thing important for the foodie guide. For example, if you book a private food tour and during this tour you don't really like the vibe of it, maybe it's too crowded for you and you don't want to get into this place, the tour guide needs to think about the second option, needs to find you the proper second optional place. If she cannot or he cannot find a place, maybe there's someone in the travel agency can find one thing for you or replace this one with another thing for you. Because of course in the group tours it's quite difficult to switch the places because most of the things are planned earlier and already decided about the expenses. So that's why we are giving you the actual prices of the tour, because we are thinking about and we are considering about our expenses earlier. But because of that, in the group tours we cannot switch the place with somewhere else because maybe these places are not used to receive too many guests, or maybe your stomach is not available to have another thing. For example, let's talk about the intestine sandwiches, which is very well for some of the guests, which is really hardcore dish, but some of the guests it's very regular thing that we eat. So we have two kinds of guests for intestine sandwiches, the beginners and the professional ones. There is nothing like there is something in the middle, in the medium level, let's say. Because for example, let's say our American friends, they are not used to have intestine sandwiches, so we don't take them to the street intestine sandwich sellers, kokoreç sellers. But if we have Greek guests, of course we will go on to the street sellers because we share the same food, we share the common food in our cultures. It's not really limiting us about which places to choose. But if you are not used to have these kind of tripe soup or intestine sandwiches or stuffed mussels, we have to be careful about the food that we are giving to you. So if you are not on a private tour, if that's a regular tour, please don't expect us to switch the places quickly. But if you are booking a private tour, be sure that your guide is available to take the risks and change the spots depending on your interest or your, let's say, your digestion level. One little thing, which is not a must, but it's better to be, which is the education on wine. Yeah, well, it seems like that we are Turkey. Well, most of the population is Muslim. Let's say, not let's say, actually, 97% of the population is Muslim. Well, I'm a tattooed Muslim girl. So when we consider these things, yes, you may think about us that we don't produce wine, but we have really great boutique wineries. And we have beautiful vineyards in especially in the coasts, especially starting from Thrace, Trakya area, and down to the seaside through the Aegean Sea, Izmir district. Let's go down this way. So all of these vineyards are beautifully producing wine. Boutique wine companies, they are offering us amazing, beautiful table wine or even the higher quality ones. Especially we have some options that, oh, I'm actually adding a link here, or if you cannot click on them, you can just DM me and I can send it to you, which is about the Turkish grapes. Well, you can just consider that we are eating that sarma grape leaves, stuffed grape leaves. Of course, we will have grapes and wine for sure. Yes, but don't forget that, well, the taxes are quite high. There are multiple reasons behind of it, but we can say that some of the wines that you can try in Turkey will be more expensive than Europe than its quality, because the thing that you are paying for is not actually the quality of the grape but also the tax. So please don't judge any wine company, any tour, or any wine tasting menu. Just don't forget that, unfortunately, drinking is not that really cheap in Istanbul, in Turkey. Why I always feel like when we are running the food tours, the tour guide needs to know about the wine culture, because in any case, when we are doing food tours or regular tours, for example, when I'm taking my tours to Hagia Sophia or Topkapi Palace, of course we will have lunch somewhere and my guest will be asking me what I'm gonna drink. So the thing that I will be recommending you, I prefer that would be a great, nice, it doesn't have to be great, but a nice table wine, which is a local one. So I have to know about this one. I feel like I'm supposed to know about this one. I don't know. I have some friends who are not in the same idea with me. They don't agree with me, but I don't care. I really think that we need to know about at least a couple of wines that we produce here. For example, there are some of the things that we say boğaz kere, öküz gözü. These ones are like Cabernet and Merlot for us. And these two of them are the grapes that we regularly drink when we are going out with our friends. And well, it's something that we should know. So, anyway, and also don't forget to take the wine tasting at the chef restaurants if it's possible, because there are always some really nice table wine which is perfectly paired with your food too. Besides, if you can find wine tasting events, I can highly recommend them to you. One little detail that I will want you to consider is learning about food is also equal about the things that we are tasting. So a person who is staying in Turkey for a long time and not able to travel because of the economical reasons, especially after that 2015-16, after the terror attacks in Turkey, and well, when we think about the pandemic period, so last 6 years, a typical tourism worker worked only 2 years, which is not really great income for this person to be able to travel the world. So if we are not able to travel the world, we don't know about the other cuisines, so we are not able to compare them with the other food. So, for example, let's say tulumba dessert. The tulumba dessert seems like churros. You know churros, right? And A person who has never been in Spain can never know about churros. And today, when we consider that €1 is equal for 16 Turkish lira, this means 16 times working harder. That's why I will kindly asking you to be a bit more naive about the tour guides in Turkey because, well, the traveling for a Turkish person is all about the economical situation and the incomes of a Turkish person, which is also meaning that this is that much. We are learning about other cultures, other food, and we are able to compare about this food. How much we travel, how much we taste, how many things that we are tasting is, of course, adding something to ourselves, but life. One last and the most important thing that I would like to mention, talking about the tour guides, that I was saying that the tour guide needs to know this, has to know this one, blah blah, and I never talked about that. Don't forget that we are not only telling you the food, but also the tour guide needs to manage the group, needs to consider about everyone's interests. We need to think about everyone's personal feelings and needings and everything. So we have to clone ourselves for each guest. So just imagine that a tour guide is meeting with a tour group, a regular group, which is a mixture of the guests from States, from England, from France, from Malaysia, let's say from India, from one more country, let's say one Germany, for example. 6 cultures. So when we consider about these 6 different cultures, we have to clone ourselves to the 6 different styles of explanation. So the 6 different cultures is meaning that we have to make people happy in 6 different ways at the same time as one person. So that's why I will want you to consider a tour guide is not an android. So we have to rest for a while. We also need to eat when you're eating, because when we are giving information, we are talking so much and we are forgetting about eating. And we need to consider that tour guide is a human. We cannot know every single thing, every single detail. And you cannot expect a tour guide to be professional about everything. Yes, I'm such an dictator person by myself around in my social circle, actually, but this is me. How am I? But when a traveler books a guide, don't forget that you are just enjoying, and the tour guides and generally the guides who are running tours about food, we are generally happy people. And we are the people who are not going to work and coming back home every single day. The tour guides who are guiding in the gastronomy sector are the people who really enjoy eating outside. So that's why you can consider that this is your friend, this is your local friend, this is, or the other guide, I don't know, your local friends during the tour who are sharing the food with you during your trip. So guys, don't forget that to leave good reviews on TripAdvisor accounts, and don't forget that leave a comment below the video. If I forgot something, actually, I'm just calling out all of my tour guide friends. If you would like to add your opinions below here, not bad things, no bad things are allowed. So you can always feel free to go through the comments and share your opinions about the tour guides, what you expect from a tour guide when you are booking a food tour. So hope to see you in Istanbul at the food tours, guys. Cheers!